Hi everyone, so we got the final patch notes for Diablo 4 Season 4 the other day. I already went through them a little bit in some videos, and one burning question that I keep getting is which builds are going to be the best. This is what people always want to know. Well, I can tell you we don't have the maximal tier list ready just yet, but actually later today we will have our meeting, we will discuss, and then in the next few days you're going to get the guides, you're going to get the tier list, and so on. So stay tuned for that. A lot of stuff is coming, we have been putting in a lot of work there. But in general, one thing that a lot of people are looking forward to are the minion necromancers. And it seems like they are going to be really at the top now. So they have been mega buffed on a PTR. If you have not seen this, well, we basically had full AFK builds, just kind of cruising through pit level 200, which does require some effort on other classes and on other builds. And those minions are just wrecking stuff. We had golems literally kind of one-shotting the tormented bosses with like over 1 billion damage or something like that. So stuff went pretty crazy. It turns out I have tuned this down a little bit in the patch notes. Like you can see this here, for example, the skeletal mages in particular were extremely powerful. So they removed some of the extra shadow bolts there, for example, from the shadow mages, and from the bone mages that shoot your bone spears. They also made them cast it a little bit less frequently. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think this will really impact those two builds all that much. And they're still going to be ridiculously good, especially for the low amount of effort you have to put into them. In fact, those mage builds and those golem builds, they are so powerful that you barely even need gear to just complete the game. Maybe not the pit to 100 on the tormented bosses, but it's going to be very easy with Necromancer. So if you're looking for something like very boring, very easy, you can play Minion Necro. That being said though, there is also another really big point of discussion about those Minion Necros, which is the mastery ranks that you can put on your armor. So on the PTR, this is how that works. So there was new modifiers, including skeletal mastery and golem mastery, that you could put on all of your armor items, which is really crazy because, well, these mastery passives are by far the strongest damage passives in the entire game. If that is your build, like if you are playing, let's say, a skeletal mage build or something, and this is like basically 99% of your damage output, well, each point in skeletal mastery gives you 20% damage and also life for mages. So that is better than any other passive in the game, even Envenom on the druid, for example. And for the golem, it's even more. For the golem, it's actually 25 per point. And so what people did is they actually just rolled golem mastery on all of their items, and it was looking like this. And then when you have masterwork, greater affix, well, you can get a lot of ranks here, as you can see. So you can do this on helm, chest, gloves, armor, pants, and the boots. And you have 25 extra ranks to your golem mastery or your skeletal mastery. And that results in like some ridiculous multiplier, like 600 or 700% bonus or something like that. And I gotta say, that seems obviously unintended. And the reason why I say that is because there were a lot of other like buggy modifiers they can find on your items, and I'll give some examples for that real quick. One is, for example, a temper mod that you can put on a rogue, on an armor piece that says chance of flurry projectiles to cast twice, which number one, all these cast twice things always went on the weapons, and number two, flurry doesn't even have projectiles, so this doesn't even make any sense at all, and it's defensive. And there were some other like really weird things that kind of popped up all over the place here that should not be there. So another one is, for example, clarity here on the druid. This was a resource temper mod that you can put here. So sometimes you can put some passive ranks like abundance. That one gives you like extra resources when you use a basic skill. And clarity used to be a resource mod and a resource passive, and now it's actually a damage passive. So this is the one here where previously when you shapeshifted into human form, you would get extra spirit. And now it gives you crit and damage for your next skill after casting a companion skill. So that is obviously a damage passive now, and for some reason it was a resource temper. So there are some of those examples here where we have something that is clearly wrong and clearly unintended, and that will like 99% not make it into the final patch. They did not specifically call this out in the patch notes, but there was a line somewhere about that they have adjusted like lots of temper modifiers and all that stuff. And obviously they're doing a lot of bug fixes probably as we speak as well. But there are also some other weird stuff here. For example, there's a temper mod upheaval count on the barb as well. That makes 0 sense as well. Upheaval is a melee skill. and it doesn't have like, you know, extra numbers or something like that. In fact, it goes from 0 to 1. So, you know, there's like some really weird stuff. For example, there's steel grasp count, that makes sense, you get an extra chain. Upheaval count makes no sense. And also sometimes there's like these skill ranks that are also really far off. For example, here, like on the rogue we had this, on the bar we had this, like you could only get +1 to a core skill individually on the gloves, for example, which is unintended. But then you could also get +2 to core skills as like, you know, the entire category. So that is obviously wrong as well. Rogues had the same issues, but other classes did not have the same issues. So if you put, for example, the druid here, it might be fine. So for example, he has 2 to 3 to all of the individual core skills, 1 to 2 to all of them. So we'll see if this is actually going to be a 2 to 3 or 3 to 4. At least on the live servers, it's going up to 4. And on some classes, I think it also went up to 4. So in general, some of the numbers are off, some of the stats are off, and well, +25 to Golem Mastery is certainly off, I think. So if anything, I believe that this is going to be on the amulet, and you're going to have like, you know, one opportunity to roll these mastery ranks, and then, you know, that's it basically, because on the amulet is usually where you have your passives. So yeah, if you look for passive, there is this here. They're not called passive anymore, they're just here +1 to 2 to this and that. But yeah, you have all these passives here that usually go into an amulet, so that is probably still going to work that way, just like before. However, on the PTR, again, kind of interesting, you were able to roll multiple passives on the amulet, which was extremely hard to do, but it was possible. You even could get triple if you really tried hard. So that may be a thing now. I'm not sure if that is unintended or what. I don't think it's really a problem if you can roll multiple passives most of the time. But yeah, that was a thing compared to live servers where only one passive can be on the amulet at a time. Either way, it will mean that if that is true, that Golem Mastery and Skeletal Mastery will be not as impactful as they were. And people might be looking at the patch notes and they see these little like mage changes here that don't really do all that much. And, you know, maybe it was like a 20% nerf or something for the mages. And that was basically about it. And, well, now it's going to be much more impactful. Because now you can't just get like 25 ranks to those Skeletal Masteries or something. What will that mean in practice? Well, if you were using that on the PTR and you actually had like, you know, 25 ranks or something on Golem Mastery, that gave you like a 700% multiplier, you can probably forget about this. And this means that your damage of the Golem and also the life, I guess, which probably doesn't matter that much, will go down significantly by probably something like 2/3 or so. Now, on the upside, you suddenly have like 5 more modifiers that are greater affix and masterworks potentially. So this could be like, you know, life, or int, or something like that. And you could get a little bit of that back. So I think the net loss here is probably something like half the damage or so. If this is fixed and this goes to, for example, the amulet and you have like only a few ranks. So this is kind of what I would expect here for the Necros, which means that they're still comfortably S tier, basically. Like these minion builds were absolutely crazy, they were absolutely wrecking stuff. And I expect that they are going to be probably some of the most popular builds out there for Season 4, especially for the more casual players, because they really just require no effort. There are also some other things that we already know are getting nerfed. So in general, like some of the tempering mods are going to be readjusted. So we have seen this on the live stream. For example, Elemental Surge is getting a heavy nerf the way it seems like. We didn't see the recipe for like the highest tier. There's like 3 tiers of each recipe. But we saw the middle one. And the middle one was like a nerf of like 93% compared to what it was before. Maybe the nerf is a bit less for the higher one, but let's say if it's like 90 or 85% nerf or something like that. And Metal Surge is effectively almost not usable anymore. There will be maybe some builds that can still make use of it. You could still play around it, but it's not going to be like the all-defining #1 mod that you could put on like every single build and you're going to destroy the entire game. So this is something we know already. And just in general, I think also some other like kind of OP mods are probably getting either deleted or very tuned down. One example here is on the Sorks, the Flame Shield duration. It seems like Blizzard has very clearly tried to make perma Flame Shield not really a thing by, for example, nerfing the Hectic aspect. Hectic has been nerfed from like basically 50%. We can find this here. So this usually gives you 2 to 4 seconds off your cooldowns when you cast 5 basic skills. and now it's only 1 to 2 seconds. So if you put it on the amulet, you can still get 3 seconds, but it's obviously intended towards nerfing the perma flame shield stuff, because that was extremely easy to do. Again, you could temper flame shield duration on like 4 different slots or something like that. You could get like a 8 seconds flame shield, and while the flame shield is active, you can attack, proc hectic, and reduce the flame shield cooldown, and then just spam it over and over and over. I suggested to Blizzard that immunity skills should just like not recover the cooldown at all while they're active. So that's like how it works, for example, in Diablo 3. We had exactly the same problem back in Season 1, which is where the yes woo comes from my streams with the sub sound. Well, that was actually a build back then where you were permanently invincible, and this is how I got a world rank 1 in Diablo 3 Season 1 with the ball lightning build. But yeah, this should probably not really be a thing. And right after, you know, basically that incident, this was patched in Diablo 3, and it has not been patched in Diablo 4, and I think it has to be patched at some point. That will probably mean that Infinimus will die, but I guess that's an acceptable loss, because and like all the other necro builds are just really nice right now anyway. So yeah, I think perma invincibility is probably not healthy. Yeah, and there's like these examples. I have not really like all of them at the top of my mind right now, but you know, there are some really crazy combos like this perma flame shield, like this like 25 ranks to Golem mastery. It's not even a tempered mod actually, it's just a new mod that is somehow added here. But you see here that usually on the helm there should be like curse skills, for example, and for some reason they put the mastery things there, and that really is kind of weird. So there should probably be like the individual curse skills, like the Decrepify and or the Iron Maiden, so that this kind of like mirrors what other classes can get on a helm and so on. And these mastery ranks just don't make sense. They should go on amulet. So a few things here are just kind of like all over the place. And when you are making your own builds, you have to be aware of that. We don't have the full picture. Not everything is in the patch notes, and a lot of the stuff will shift around. A lot of bugs will be fixed, and this includes this. And that's already it for this video here. So just want to get this out there because I keep getting these questions all the time. So I hope this helps a little bit and hope this clarifies. Again, I don't really know exactly all of the little details, and it's very likely that Blizzard will overlook a few things, or they will forget something, or they will not have time for something. Something may be bugged, and so on. So we'll see what will happen exactly in the final patch notes. There's a lot of stuff kind of up in the air, and it will really depend on like how well they actually polish everything up. But it's pretty likely that at least some things will slip through, and we're gonna have some pretty broken OP stuff when the season comes out. I mean, we're gonna be pretty OP anyway. Even if they fix everything, they nerf everything. So this is kind of like what I expect. So in general, there's a lot of things to look forward to, and we'll see what will be the final result, but we'll only really know when the season starts. And with that, I'm gonna leave you. Hope you enjoyed this video here, and see you guys next time.